Oh, you'll get me killed. I'm in the middle of the Ford Holden fight. A young blokes, young
Yeah.
tradies, because the term I think you is they can wrench them.
Yeah. All right. Those were just a few fun quotes from my guest for this episode, Alan. And really check him out. He is quite a hoot. Pretty funny guy from Australia. He stayed up basically all night just to be on the podcast. But before we get to that, couple fun things in the news. Now, I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, but Ferrari is coming out with a quote unquote manual car, the Ferrari 12 Cilindre Manuale. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly or not, but Harry's Garage did a really nice review of it where it goes into the details of the specifications. Now, it's not a true manual, meaning you do not have the shifter that actually interacts with the transmission to shift gears, which is what every manual up until today has been. But they're trying to capture the spirit of the manual transmission by making it work with a current transmission. So it's more like, Forza video game simulator where you have a steering wheel and you have a shifter. The shifter's not actually doing anything other than transmitting signals to the video game to tell you what gear you're in. Same with this one is transmitting some type of signal to the transmission. Now, what's interesting, they've even programmed it. It does have a clutch pedal. They even programmed it so that you could stall the car, which I think is absolutely awesome. Because if you can't stall a manual transmission, is it really a manual transmission? I mean, everybody knows the fear of being on a hill and trying to get out of first gear when the traffic light changes from red to green. Now, that's probably one of the most terrifying aspects of being a teenager and learning how to drive a manual car. Even today, it can be intimidating as I drive my old 65 Mustang or the GTO. If you're on a hill, that's pretty scary. Now, I thought I would also give you a couple more fun facts around this date in automotive history for June the 9th. Way back when in 2006, this is the 20th anniversary, believe it or not, of Pixar's Cars when it was released in theaters. And if you received the book, you'll know Jay Ward gave me two incredible quotes as it related to pop culture and cars in movies, which was really, really special. Now, there wasn't a ton of other stuff that happened here. We had a record hill climb back in 1936. Alfa Romeo in 2014 celebrates the Giulietta's 60th anniversary, so that's kind of cool. So not a ton of automotive facts for today, but I'll keep on bringing some out as they happen. And the last thing I want to say before we get to my sponsors is if you were recently on my Instagram shorts, you'll know that there was a particular video that almost blew up and I had to shut it down. I wish I hadn't, but I did because it wasn't professionally done. And I apologize for that. But just for a little bit behind the scenes, when I take a video and I turn it into a short, I use a program called Opus Clips, and it will go through the entire interview process and pick out like the stuff that would be the most interesting to someone in a short. And you just press the button and it will clip it and it will provide the subtitles. Now, I look at the pictures. I don't always review every single short, which bad on me. Apparently, it did not clip the center of the video. It clipped to the right of the video. So you have me walking around talking about this incredible car, and you don't see the car. You just see the spectators looking at the car. And it was just really funny. The comments were amazing. One guy said, "This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen on Instagram," because, tongue in cheek there, picking on me. But I was going to leave it out there just because it was so funny. I just started laughing my head off watching it. But because it was somewhat unprofessional, I decided to take it down. So it's unfortunate. The weirder stuff is out there, the more views it gets, whereas the more professional, sometimes you don't get the views you think you should have. So I kind of try to walk a line of it being somewhat professional, somewhat amateurish to keep everybody engaged. So I appreciate your patience, especially with the shorts. All right, now let's get to our sponsors. Please support them as they are the reason this podcast continues on every week. If you're a collector, you already understand stewardship, preserving what matters, planning ahead, and passing things on the right way. That's exactly how Peristyle Wealth approaches financial planning. As the Ferrari Club of America's official wealth management partner, they help avid collectors who value resilience and attention to detail. And the founder, John Suarez, is active in the community. I've judged one of his cars before, and I see him at events all over the country. To learn more, go to peristylewealth.com. Peristyle Wealth advisory services offered through New Edge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
Every garage is a mirror of the mind that builds it. The garage becomes a quiet dialogue between who you are and what you craft. A garage is where work becomes meditation and solace, where mechanical truth becomes mental clarity. Some people go to offices, some go to mountains, others go to garages. At Metron Garage, we build for people who do all three. Give us a call to get started.
If you own a collector car, you already know it deserves more than a standard insurance policy. NCM Insurance specializes in agreed value coverage designed specifically for classic, collector, and enthusiast vehicles. From weekend drivers to serious collectors, they understand how these cars are used, stored, and protected. To learn more about protecting your collector car the right way, visit ncminsurance.com. Coverage built for the cars you care about. Every car in your garage tells a story, where it's been, how it's been maintained, and what makes it truly yours. Carport gives you a simple digital garage to document, organize, and manage your vehicles all in one place. Track service history, store important records, and keep your collection dialed in with confidence. From your daily driver to your dream car, Carport keeps everything in order so you're always ready for the road. And best of all, it's free to use and is 100% private. To learn more, go to carport.app. All right, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. As always, I'm very excited for this guest, mostly because he has gone through great efforts to be on this podcast. He is not in the United States. It is 10 o'clock a.m. my time. So, Allan, what time is it where you are?
It's nearly tomorrow. Just
nearly tomorrow. So I'd like to welcome Allan Whiting from Australia. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, not bad for an old bloke.
Well, it's funny, on our pre-call, you said your nickname in school was Fish. Why was that?
Yeah, well, whiting's a very popular fish here, especially in South Australia.
That's awesome. Now, where in Australia are you? I don't even know.
I'm southwest of Sydney, up in the hills. So it's what passes for mountains in Australia, because the whole continent's so bloody old, all the mountains have been ground down. So we're at 800 metres, and that's getting up there in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, so it's cold here. The fire's on. We're just first month into winter now.
Wow.
So we're not called down under for nothing.
That's awesome. Well, we met because you did a review of my book, which is really, really cool, and I appreciate the review.
That's a great book. It's a good instruction manual, and it should widen the eyes of a lot of people and give them a reality check before they get into deep.
Yeah. Well, good. I appreciate your comments so much. That means a lot. And I loved your review, and I'll post a link to it in the description of this podcast. But I loved you made a point to kind of put it in Australian terms because what was it? Around trucks and SUVs, you use different terminology?
Yes. And the word truck was never ever applied to anything that wasn't a proper bloody truck, not a pickup. We call them utes.
Okay. Yep.
Short for utility, and of course, utility vehicle. When SUV arrived, that's an American term, so that caused great confusion here. So people just say SUV now, and that means a light-duty four-wheel drive car, really. And what you guys call trucks, Ford F-150 upwards, they're utes.
Okay. Well, I have seen a Holden ute here in town, but in the U.S., and those are pretty cool to see.
Yeah, especially the V8 ones. They march. And the Ford Falcon equivalent or competitor had a turbocharged petrol 4-litre 6 in it, and that went like hell. So there is a muscle car culture here. There's a production car race held every year. It used to be series production. Now they're sort of based on production cars. But back in the olden days, I bought one of the race cars because I was going to be Australian rally champion. I couldn't see why that would be difficult.
Why not? Yeah, let's just do it.
Apart from serious lack of talent and being half blind with myopia. So it didn't happen. But I've got some great mates who were really good rally drivers and track drivers. Still catch up with these old blokes. So I bought one of the production cars, and that was going to be my rally car. So it was a GT 500, which is a Shelby derivative for you guys, but it was based on the two-door Cortina, because we had heaps of British cars here because Australia was part of the British, well, still part of the British Commonwealth. But after Britain joined the EU, or then it was the common market, the Commonwealth countries lost their preferential Commonwealth duty situation. So most of the Yank cars that came here for direct import or for assembly came from the Canada plants over in Windsor, because Canada was part of the Commonwealth. So if you bought a Chevy here, it was more likely than not a Canadian assembled car.
Is that mostly around taxes and fees?
Yes, there was a specific import duty for Commonwealth produced products. But that all ended in '66 when Britain joined the EU. And before the war, World War II, I mean, we used to say before the war, but now there are so many bloody wars, we've got to be specific.
Yeah.
Before World War II, I think every car, except maybe some French cars, was body on frame. So a lot of them came in from Europe or from America or Canada as a chassis cowl, and then the bodywork was put on here. And Holden was a bodybuilder.
Oh, okay.
And they just built bodies. They used to make carriages, and then they started doing car bodies.
Okay.
And General Motors bought into them in the 20s, I think 21. The Holden freaks will go berserk if I've got the year wrong. And then GM took control of Holden's in 34, I think. So then Holden was just putting bodies on GM vehicles. Then after the war, body on frame was less so. So then we had the Holden was promoted by the government, and a bloke called Hartnett was GM at General Motors Holden's Australia. And I've written up the Hartnett car on my website. Worth a read.
Okay.
I got some secret documents as part of that story too. They literally arrived here in a brown envelope one day.
Oh.
No address, no source of origin, but all the machinations of how Australia got the Holden. Australia's car, Australia's own car. It was a GM. But Hartnett was heading up GM at the time, General Motors Holdens at the time. So, yeah, that's really interesting history.
Yeah. So are there, like, we have the big Ford versus Chevy rivalry. Is that like a Holden versus Ford in Australia?
Yeah. And they're still trying to keep that alive with supercars. But I don't think it's very effective. It's still great racing and close, but
now, what's the Holden supercar?
It's a Camaro now, which you can't even buy here.
That makes it hard.
There's limited import, but it's not a model that people identify with. Whereas back when the Holden Ford rivalry was red hot, you could buy a GTS Monero, or you could buy a Falcon GT.
Right.
I say Monero because that was the original name of the region. Holden called it a Monaro, but
I remember the Holden. I think all the folks in the U.S. are familiar with would be when they tried to revive the Pontiac GTO, and they brought that Holden over because it was a front engine V8, rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
And a great car. It didn't really take off. It didn't necessarily resonate from a styling perspective or differentiate itself enough.
Yep. Yeah.
But they are, I'll see those as collectibles today. I'll see them running around every once in a while.
Falcon GTs and the popular Holden models are fetching real good money.
Yeah, what was it? The G8, different. We had them as the Pontiac, I think G8. They were really pretty cars, very
Yeah,
very nice, beautiful cars.
yeah. It was an interesting blend of the European Opel design input and Detroit and a bit of local stuff here as well.
Right. Yeah,
But
I think for the U.S. it was more of a rebranding exercise than anything
yeah,
else, wasn't it?
but there are much greater authorities on modern Australian supercars than I am. I came in at the truck end, and I was more interested in European cars
Yeah.
when I was growing up. I had two TCs. I was going to be Australian hill climb champion as well. That didn't quite work out. I had a MGTC for the road and another one with a trick chassis with a cruciform welded stiffener in it and Q-type front drums and a full house MGA engine with a 45 Weber on it. I was going to be king of the hills, but that didn't quite work out either. But the TCs in the 60s were cheap as chips here. $200
Yeah.
get you a TC.
Wow. Now,
Uh,
can you talk a little bit about like what makes Australian car culture different from that in the US or Europe? Now, I'm taking it that maybe you know what it's like in the US, but are there the traditional stuff? Do you do like cars and coffee in the morning? Do
oh,
you do some cruise-ins, car shows, all that kind of stuff?
that all seems to be exactly the same.
Okay.
Cars and coffee is huge. There's an old town um, about 5 minutes from where I live. Um, Cars and coffee there. It's a tourist town, so it's got a lot of old sandstone buildings and a jail, of course. Got to have a jail. Um, Old convict built prison. They built the prison for themselves.
Wow. Yeah.
Selfless boys and girls. And there's cars and coffee there, and you cannot park in the place when cars and coffee are on. So it's very similar. Where I think we differ is because we had the British Commonwealth after World War One, when cars really took off, we got a lot of European and British vehicles here, more pedestrian type vehicles than I have seen Americans collecting. We see a lot of Alphas in the US, restored GTVs, but not too many of the four doors. Whereas here, the four-door European vehicles and British vehicles were quite popular because that's what people bought. American cars were then more expensive generally,
Right.
especially straight eight. I came across I think it was a 37 straight eight Buick. I've been out in the Red Centre. We had a mate of mine runs a tour company, and we had 26 Argentinians here. Just too much fun. And we went from Uluru, Ayers Rock, up to Darwin, and you see wrecks in the bush all the time. Yeah, I worked out it was a Buick because it had straight eight and overhead valves. I thought it was an Oldsmobile at first. I thought, oh no, it's not side valve, it's overhead valve. And this is just some rich farmer could afford a straight eight Buick in 37, 38. So we see them, but generally the bread and butter cars were British to a large extent. But our first family car was a Morris Minor convertible. So you pack me, then teenager, and brother and sister in the back of a two-door Morris Minor convertible. I mean, people wouldn't believe it today. No seat belts or anything back then. Little side valve 750cc engine. The saying is, it wouldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding.
Oh, I like rice pudding, and I know what you're talking about. That's great. Now, do you have the same issues at like Cars and Coffee where the guy in the Ford Mustang will do a burnout and then wreck the car?
No, that I think policing's a bit more serious here.
Okay.
When Cars and Coffee's on at Berrima, the local copper knows about it. So
Mm,
no, people are generally better behaved. I think no one's chucking donuts in the middle of the street. That it's all respectful, and order your coffee at the cafe and tell lies about your car and all that.
Now, in defense of the U.S., anytime like when I'm at a Cars and Coffee and someone leaves doing a burnout, we all hate it because we don't want
Yeah,
the Cars and Coffee to get shut down
yeah.
because
No,
of
I mean,
dangerous
there's
reasons.
sometimes an idiot, but very, very rarely people behave themselves.
You are much more spread out, like your major metropolitan areas are much more spread out than they are in the US, obviously. Does that mean that, there are different cultures in the different major cities, or are there rallies that go between the two? I mean, it's got to be pretty daunting to take an old car a long distance in Australia.
Yeah, well, the classic example is there was a creepy crawly rally here. It started in the UK because the Brighton Run cars end at 1905. So all the people with 1905 to 1919 are saying, what about us? So creepy crawly started in the UK and it spread to here. So we had it here in our town a few months ago. And people turned up with their two-cylinder Renaults. There was a Kelsey three-wheeler. How many of them are around?
Yeah. Wow.
An Empire, rare as. Good. Empire's got such a fantastic history. So all these came behind a Silverado or a Land Cruiser Ute in a trailer, and they unloaded them at the campground in Moss Vale, and then did their rally on the little secondary roads around here, where travelling at 30 to 40 kilometres an hour wasn't going to risk your life.
Right.
So, yeah, even though the distances are great, there's plenty of regional stuff too. My brother lives in Mudgee, which is about 4 hours from here, and he's got Pommy bikes. Oh God, BSA 37 BSA, and he's got a bull taco as well. So he rode up to Cars and Coffee because it's bikes and trucks as well. And there's a Maytag car there. How
Really?
rare is that in
Yeah.
a town 4 hours from Sydney? So yeah, you never know what you're going to find out in the scrub. And we've got at least one day elder truck here, and that's rare brand even in the US. So yeah, it's similar culture, but distances mean things are generally more regional. So with heavy trucks, the truck guys do a Hume Highway run every year. So the Melbourne guys run north to the border, and when the Sydney one's on, they run south to the border at Albury, halfway between Sydney and Melbourne, and use as much of the old highway as they can. A bit like trying to do Route 66. There's a
Right.
lot of freeway now. And, guys have got Kenworths and comma knockers and Dodgers and Marmons and
Wow.
West Stars, Whites, old Macs.
Right.
So it's similar, but there aren't so many resto mod trucks, the heavy trucks like I've seen in the US, because I think it was 82, America deregulated how long the tractor could be pulling a semi-trailer. So you guys then went from cab over to unrestricted length tractor unit. So massive wheelbase, huge bloody bonnet, and got to have vertical exhausts, of course.
Right.
You've got to burn coal. Got to be plenty of that. But our trucks were more utilitarian. There was never that freedom. Every market in the world restricts overall length except the US. So we don't have those character building Peterbilts that have been chopped and channeled, and the
All that fun
windscreen's so
stuff.
low you can hardly see out of it. Ours are more practical. They still have to be reasonably road legal.
Right.
So
Yeah. Wow. Now, what cars are currently still being built in Australia? What brands?
there's bugger all manufacturing here now, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So,
as a result, we're open door. You can buy anything here, and the Chinese are really making a mark.
okay. Right.
And until I sold my Outback travel website, I was testing their vehicles, and they're very, very good.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your history because you are steep in utes and trucks, right?
Yeah, well, after I couldn't become Australian rally champion because it wasn't good enough, I had to get a job. So I finished up working for a trucking company, and I enjoyed that. And then I got a job at Volvo Truck Australia when it first kicked off. And now Volvo's huge in the US, owns Mack. So it was just feeling its way in export markets. So one of my rally mates, who actually became rally champion, New South Wales rally champion, he was bringing Volvo cars in, and that's what he was rallying, started bringing in Volvo trucks. So the job was tailor-made for me. I had a great time there. And that we were trying to get an Australian Army contract at the time. So they brought in C series 4x4 and 6x6, 1 tonne and 1.5 tonne payload military vehicles, and also F88 4x4 8-tonne truck. And they said, well, you're going to be the demo driver, Al. Fine. So a Swede came out, showed me how to drive, and scared me shitless, but taught me how to demonstrate these. So I did the demos to the army. It was pretty scary driving on a military proving ground with a loaded truck, and that also got me into the four-wheel drive side. And I started doing freelance work for four-wheel drive magazines. And then I left Volvo and started my own truck buyer's guide and continued freelancing to four-wheel drive magazines. And then when the internet started, I thought magazines are dead. So I started the Outback Travel website and continued freelancing for truck and four-wheel drive websites and magazines. So, but I still had a great interest in cars because I was just frustrated rally champion after all. And bikes. The bloke's always got a motorbike.
All right, so let me ask you this. What's your favorite truck? What's your favorite classic car? And what's your favorite new car?
Favorite truck? Scania V8.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, beautiful. Favorite
Classic car, collector car, classic car.
I've got a soft spot for Bugattis, I must say. Can't afford one, but
Old one, new one? Like,
oh no, older one.
yeah.
Even before the Miller copied twin cam ones, the old purist single cam straight eight.
Wow, nice. Would that be like a Type 35 type?
Yeah, 35. But I think the twin cam ones are brilliant too, but it wasn't all Etere's handiwork, was it?
Or no, it wasn't.
No. He was inspired.
Now, how about new?
I'm going to be a traitor, and with adequate charging support, I'd be seeing the light and going electric now if I had to buy a car.
Is that Chinese electric? Is that Tesla?
Sadly, yes.
Really? Interesting.
BYD Sea Lion. My daughter's got one. Just amazing vehicle.
Okay. Wow.
Things have changed.
I know that's
Quick.
I saw an interview with Jim Farley, Ford CEO, and he drives them all the time and
Yeah.
needs to see what the competition's up to, right? And he said they have, this is scary, they have today manufacturing capacity to quadruple current production. Like they don't have to build anything else. They already have it
Yeah.
built,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
really
it's funny you say Jim Farley. I met him at a Range Rover launch in Spain when he was heading up the Jaguar Rover thing. When Ford thought that was a good idea to own that. Yeah,
now what
he's a smart boy.
Yeah. Oh, he's very smart. Yes. Now, which Australian built car deserves more international attention? Like which one is like what would you call like the best Australian built car? Is it a Holden V8? What might it be?
Oh, you'll get me killed. I'm in the middle of the Ford Holden fight. Australian made, probably the car that deserved more was the P76 Leyland.
I'm not familiar with that car.
No, because it wasn't made anywhere else. It was exclusively a Leyland Australia product during that disastrous ownership. But it was a purpose-built Australian four-door sedan with a boot. And they boasted you could put a 44-gallon drum in the back. That's 44 imperial gallons. So what's that, 52 US gallons? You could put a whole drum in the boot on its side. Not quite sure who wanted to do that, but you could. P76, it's on my website in the Leyland entry. It had the Bott aluminium V8 Buick Oldsmobile Pontiac that Britain bought, and 3.5 litre aluminium petrol V8, and that went into everything. It was in the Leyland Terrier truck. It was in Range Rovers, Land Rovers, the Rover SD1, I think. The car guys will sort me out on the details. But that car deserved much better. But
Now, what year would this have been? Like
70s.
okay, in the 70s. All right. Well, I'll pull up.
And it was underfunded, so it was never built. The tooling wasn't good enough. It was never built well enough. But there are heaps of them around, relative heaps. And the people who've restored them just love them. It was a beautiful thing to drive at the time, and more fuel efficient than the iron block V8s that were around. Yeah, it deserved a much better future than it got. And then Leyland collapsed, and that was the end of that.
What color would you? What color would you want?
Oh, they did a Targa Florio tribute model with stripes on it. Got to have that. Blue and white, great.
Now, what are you seeing the younger Australians getting into? Is it all the Ferraris and the new hypercars? Is there something else? You know, do you have a read on what they're interested in?
I don't think I'm well tuned enough now. I can't understand them when they're talking. So, but what I see is that they like the older stuff. I've got an old Land Cruiser Ute, which also features on my website. It's stretch wheelbase. It's a 75 series. You guys didn't get it. You got the 40 series, and then you didn't get any more of the Land Cruiser Utes. But the 75 was the best one they made. And the current one is still pretty much reminiscent of that. For instance, the door skins on it fit my car, and my car's now 33 years old. So it's a workhorse, and I've got stretch wheelbase and had the motor rebuilt. The people who stopped me to say, oh, that's great, mate, how long you had that? Are young blokes, young tradies, because the term I think you use, they can wrench them.
Yeah.
Whereas now You lift the bonnet on anything, you can't name anything.
Yeah, can't see
So
anything.
sure as hell can't work on it.
Yeah, yeah,
You get a black box with 27 different coloured wires going in one side and 5 different coloured coming out the other. You
yeah,
know, it's not
yeah,
like gapping the points or putting a new injector line in a mechanical diesel. So,
yeah. Now I've seen you mentioned muscle cars earlier. I've seen there's a couple big collectors in Australia, and I remember one time someone asked me to, this guy wants to sell his '69 Boss 429, but he wants to sell it in the U.S. And I started doing the math on it, like, well, the cost import tax and the shipping tax or costs, it just didn't seem feasible. Um, do muscle cars trade frequently there? Are there like muscle car dealers and stuff in Australia?
not the market's not big enough to
Hmm.
warrant that much specialisation, but there are still companies who just specialise in restoring a certain type of vehicle, and that counts American stuff and European. Um, there's a company down in Sydney, in Western Sydney, that is training apprentices in wrenching old vehicles.
Hmm.
So it's a restoration house, but it's also an apprentice workshop, and it's affiliated with technical education. So they're focusing mainly on um, sports cars, but they've got some four-wheel drive
Right.
retros in there as well. They were doing an international scout. I remember road testing an international scout 4x4 years ago, and I was on a side slope and I wanted to check what the terrain was like to my right front. So, right hand drive, of course. I opened the door, and the door was so heavy it pulled me right out of the car onto the ground. Yeah, I remember the International Scout.
Yeah.
So there are odd things here. We get a bit of everything. More so now that there's not much import duty anymore. It's pretty much open slather. There was some protection for Holden, Ford, and Toyota when they manufactured a lot here, but that's faded away now.
All right, I've got for my last question. This is a big one.
Oh no.
If someone wants to visit Australia for one automotive event, museum, or driving experience, what would you recommend?
Probably the big race at Bathurst,
Yes.
Panorama.
Yeah.
Even though the supercars now are not production models and they're carbon fibre bodywork and a common chassis, but that's the atmosphere. That's what it was like back in the olden days. Guys go and camp up on the mountain, and there's the odd beard drunk, and they all wave flags and go berserk. So for that production racing fanatic, Bathurst is the go.
Yeah, that's
Four
what
wheel
it.
drive, maybe the Fig Desert Race, which just finished a few days ago.
Now, is it 1,000 kilometers? Is that the race?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And so when time's up, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, where can we find you? I know you mentioned, could you mention your website again?
Historicvehicles.com.au, and it's a free website. We purposely designed it without the intention of making any money. So all the info up there is free.
Yeah. Well, again, it's almost like 1 o'clock in the morning your time. So I really appreciate you being on the Collector Car podcast.
Oh, good fun. Great to meet you face to face.
You too as well. I really appreciate it.